Hello and welcome to Westfox. Today we are talking about the final episode of Season 1 of Star Trek Picard. And it is a doozy. It is a doozy. Joined with me today is only Shepard. Our other brother is out on investigations of things. He's probably in trouble right now, causing trouble somewhere or with somebody. We shall see. I'm sure there'll be stories to be told of that. And I had to brought the strong stuff. I had to bring out the extra strong stuff. Sometimes I was thinking, should I bring some sake or some whiskey? But I decided to go with some Lapsang Shushong tea. It's super strong, super smoky, and delicious because I needed my faculties about me because there is so much bad in this episode that I needed all brain cells to handle the stupid. I know that's kind of contradictory to what it is, but when you have to pull out so many little threads of missing storylines, missing character elements, parts that make no sense, you want all your brain cells working. Otherwise, you'll miss some. And I'm sure at this point, we'll still miss some. This is the whole, to fully dissect this episode is a course, it is an 8-week course in a college to break down every little storyline that doesn't make sense. It hurts. I mean, literally, you are greeted with this episode. The start of this episode, you're greeted with this beautiful image from Discovery. They're like, here, promote our show. And the tattered Federation flag is perfect because this show is a tattered, dirty mirror reflection. In fact, if this show turned out to be the darker timeline of the Federation, I would believe it because it is, and also dumber timeline of the Federation. I would believe it. It's embarrassing.
You bring up a good point there, Fox. You know, if this is the normal universe, what does their ISS universe look like with everyone that has the facial hair? You know, the beards. I'm the evil twin of Fox today. See?
Yes, you'll notice I am.
Because I'm the one with the Van Dyke.
Are you ready for this? Smooth as an android's bottom. I know. I was like,
that's some good stuff.
The reason
if only this episode was anything like that.
Oh, right, the clever humor and the fun. The reason I am clean shaving today is because I'm on day 1 of 21 days of quarantine. So I figured, why not start off with a clean spring shave? And well, obviously I need to go do some running here because I have put on some winter weight, and I am hopefully gonna start losing that. Darn winter time. Anyway. So this episode is rough, as he said. It is a bad episode. However, this is your time to go watch the show. A lot of people are in quarantine, dealing with stuff. Go watch it. It's free on CBS. Sign up. Make sure you don't give them their credit card and watch the show. You'll see how bad it is. And then go watch some good shows after that. At least you'll know we're not crazy, hopefully. And if you like it, well, then good for you. You get to enjoy something that you can enjoy. So we started this episode with, again, actually a pretty shot. The problem, again, with this show is it takes no account to what's happened before. So that's really one of the big things. There are no consequences in this show for what happened before. So here we have a shot of a Borg cube that crash landed onto a planet at, we don't know the speed, but it wasn't a nice landing. And it looks like it touched down like a nice, smooth, gentle touchdown. And, yeah, you know, you go from that scene and we go into the next little piece here. And, oh, look at that. There's like literally a path. It's so glad the ship landed perfectly that the sand literally flows gently into the ship. And it's this nonsensicalness. And here we have evil Romulan sneaking into the cube because, as we saw last episode, he was ran off after having them murder the other android girl. And so he's off to the Borg cube. He sneaks on the cube. And during the time, Seven and Legolas Jr.
Have a pointless talk?
Have a little
that
conversation.
Doesn't make sense?
Yeah, we'll have to break down the future mates in these silly conversations because it's really just a boring conversation. Like,
yeah, I just want to point out for myself, since it's one of the notes that I had right off the beginning here for myself.
We both have this note.
I really like Jerry Ryan. Very attractive woman, good actress, but this is not 7 of 9. I am officially calling her 2.3 repeating of 3 because she's about 1/3 of her actual character. Yes. And by that, she's pretty much name and hair color and the little eye patch. To me, where she has this moment of saying like, I don't belong anywhere and I have no one, like, I don't have a home and I don't have nowhere I belong.
She says she has no home. Yeah. That was, again, this is...
And to me, it's like, for anyone who knows obviously where her character is lifted from, which is Star Trek Voyager, you can't help and go, well, she has a family in the Voyager crew, first off, and she had a lover at the end of it in Chakotay. So I'm a little bit confused where it's like, then you can just drop that without, and then say this is the same character. Now, I know in general this show hasn't taken anything seriously about any other show other than the few traits that Patrick Stewart wants to pull from his favorite parts of First Contact or and Best of Both Worlds and that kind of stuff. But it's like, to do this to her character, as he said, it's been a problem for me in general for a long time, but this just proved, I'm like, no, this completely destroys her backstory.
Again, that's where we'll go a little bit into the characters at the end here with the arcs, where the characters in the show have no arcs, and all the characters they pulled from other shows, they've reduced them back to they don't make sense where the arcs are. Again,
they're the most one-dimensional versions of themselves.
Yeah, because Seven also, kind of like last episode where Picard's like, Data doesn't know I love him, and you're like, yeah, Data did. And they rehash that again here. They rehash Data's death. We'll talk about that later. And you have this part here where Seven says no home, and you're like, you mean the entire Voyager crew? And also being the fact that you were a super genius Borg girl that had probably so much knowledge to share that you weren't if anything, you were
she would have been indispensable.
Yeah, if anything, you would be like, I have so many people that want my attention. It's distracting because I have scientists and scholars and people wanting to understand what I am and the logic of what I do and what knowledge I know of the Borg. And I am, like you said, an invaluable resource. So this scene made no sense. Then moving on, like I said, they continue talking here, and Incest Sister shows up. Because even though
From where?
Because I thought she transported off, so I guess she may transport on the ship. Who knows? Doesn't make sense.
Part of the ship. She must have gone to a different part of the Borg cube.
Yep. So good thing there's no sense.
Transport.
Good thing that no one got hurt on crashing. Because remember that whole crash when they thought everyone was dead, and no one got hurt even. I don't see a scratch.
Breakneck speeds.
Yeah. So they're
whatever.
like, he's like, haha, I got it. Oh yeah, and then they cut to Picard. There's that meme with like the butterfly, and it's like, oh, and I swear at the cover because I feel like there's 2 times in the show. So they keep showing this butterfly. Picard's in his little prison cell. And Soji and him have a conversation. Again, these conversations, I have to write these down because it is such garbage conversations. They have no meaning to them. It's almost like it is like small children talking to each other about philosophy, but then trying to re-understand philosophy and what makes good and bad and motivations. And it is just such bad writing. I have to go through and break it down. We just saw the episode today and go, what is being said here? Because it's so nonsensical. And then we cut to a shot of Girardi watching them build the ship, the antenna here. And then we cut back to the ship sitting here. And
there's just so many random cuts in this episode too. It's so bad. It's just
constantly cutting.
Bang, there's something. Oh, let me show you a quick 10-second thing.
Yeah.
Let me show you another quick 10-second thing, and then no, we'll get back to something. And it's like, just can you follow the plot? Do you even know what your own plot is?
No, because here's a great example. So the main ship they've been on the entire season has been, it got down, right? So it has essentially a fused issue. Something's broken. So they use the magical device, and I say magic on the most sarcastic and negative way in a show you can. Straight up, gosh dang magical thing where it's like, use your imagination and it'll fix anything you want. And we'll learn later on, it doesn't just fix stuff. This thing is a gosh dang magic wand. It's ridiculous.
It's a MacGuffin. It became a MacGuffin. At first I was like, it's a fix-it tool. Okay, and then as we find out later, and you will discuss,
it is not a fix-it tool.
Oh, it's your MacGuffin for this episode that just gets pulled out of your guys' synthetic.
Yeah, and again, the biggest thing in this episode too, well, one of the biggest things, it's a huge part of it, is in the series in general. We'll get to more of the stuff in the series in general, but adding hurdles that are then easily overcome. Like, the ship's not working. Here's a magical device to fix it. Somebody died. They're fine. Here's a thing that's not working. Magically fixed. We can't do this. It just works now. They're constantly throughout the show. Like I said, this is literally a shot they do on it, and they wait to see that shot. So they this one little thing, he goes, ooh, fixes it, boom, done. Yep, all done. So here they are. This is actually a pretty shot. I did like the shot here, with like the flowers in the background. Again, I think the flowers could be cool if they had been done better in what we see later on with it. Like
if they just actually would have gone farther than a surface level
thinking.
It's just I think that's what this show just really, I mean, we can call it bad writing, and I agree, and all these other things, but it's just like they never wanted to go just be like under the surface on anything, on their characters, on their world, on their plot. It was like first draft.
Yeah.
And they said, this works.
Yeah.
And let's go for it. And then if they felt something was wrong, they just said, let's just kind of cut it and figure it out on the way.
So Girardi decides that she's going to, she's thinking, oh, what's she doing here? She's thinking.
It's her triple cross now.
Yeah, her
it's
triple
cross.
cross.
Because she just talked
we kind of guessed already. There's two characters that we're going to.
Yeah, we knew.
That she was going to switch over. Again, she makes no sense either because she was a character who was given essentially a forced mind meld vision that drove her almost mental. And she was having mental breakdown. She murdered somebody. Then she confesses, pulls the stuff out of her system, gets hospitalized. And now she's totally fine and totally sane and happy and smiling here inside this episode. Everything is great, everybody. Everything is great. But, so they go out to the ship, and evil Romulan here is hucking rocks at it to get their attention. That's kind of funny. And he's like, hey, Now, granted, he got here so fast, we don't know. Like I said, the distance makes no sense in this show because we have like 2 days here, and characters are running from one location to another, and we already saw this was a distance between these two. The characters just instantaneously to the next location with no sense of distance and without running to each other, and there's just silliness. So he's like, hey, I have a bomb. And they're like, yeah, we should shoot photon torpedoes at you. And he's like, well, I have a bomb. And they're like, oh, okay. Now, granted, they'll never use the photon torpedoes in the ship.
I think the joke was he was saying, I've been throwing rocks at you while I have a bomb.
No, I know.
I kind of want to talk.
No, I know. But I'm saying later on.
In itself is just kind of like.
It was actually it kind of made me giggle because it was actually the way of pointing it. But at the same time, what the plan becomes, you're like, why didn't you just use the ship? Because again, we're talking a extinction level event. We're not talking a like, oh, some bad people are going to kill one person or kill two people. Right. We're talking a galaxy ending event. A galaxy ending event.
It's not like a certain race's home planet's just getting blown up by a supernova that no longer has any point bearing to this entire show.
Mm-hmm. Nope, nothing like that. No, we're talking every planet being blown up, every star, or at least every race, every planet being destroyed.
But let's beat around the bush on our decision here on how we're gonna get past that. Yeah, let's not use the ultimate option, right?
Like
which comes in again later as we were discussing off screen.
Right.
So
they have a little sit down powwow, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll trust you right now. And Elrond Jr. comes in, and he's like, I'll kill you. Now, granted, he managed to get into the room, and no one notices him until he's within 6 inches of the characters, because he's a ninja.
Now
that comes through a door.
And I could be wrong. But when he's talking with Seven, is he wearing his more like sleeveless outfit, or is he still in his?
I don't.
Elven?
He might.
I don't remember. I don't know if that's even.
I don't even care.
But just in general, I remember thinking here. I went, how quickly did he get? Like, how did he get here?
Oh no, he leaves the ship.
He was sitting with Seven.
No,
so did he just like see him when he snuck out?
Oh, you missed it. You missed. Yes, he did. So when he walks out of the cube, he follows.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I missed that then. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
they do show him. Do show him following, which was when he did. Actually, I will say when they happened, like, oh, thank you. Finally, you've done something useful because he generally has been a worthless character in the entire show.
Yeah, which I mean, it's not. I mean, not really not his fault, but yeah, just poor writing again. Just like you brought in a new character, then you didn't want to do anything with him,
pretty much,
and then you don't do anything with the old characters either.
Exactly. So then we run off and to see Girardi goes to talk to, Data's creator, Dr. Soon, and there he's downloading the data from the murdered synth, and she's like, I have a problem, go fix it. Because she has a plan to rip out the eyeball of this character, so she rips it out because they love ripping eyes out in this show for some reason. There's certain things that they like keep doing over and over, destroying planets, nonsensical dialogue, ripping eyeballs out, mutilation. I don't know why they're obsessed with it. It's very odd. They must have a, again, if it was a one-time thing, I'd be like, oh, okay, this makes sense. She's trying to do this. But they keep doing the same type of things over and over again. So that makes me go, okay, obviously this is a deeper seated issue in your heads. So she rips it out. And then we go back to the ship where they're all hanging out, and they're straight up having another powwow over a fire, because it's not like there's a time crunch here where there's 200 Romulan ships coming to your planet and you need to do something. No. Because, nighttime is not a great time to attack somebody, or, when people are sleeping or not sleeping is a good time to attack. No, or be really close to it. No, they're going to hang out by the ship and create a fire instead of staying in the warm ship, and have a discussion of plot points that we already knew, which is there was an ancient race and possibly Romulans dealt with them in the past, thousands and thousands of years ago, like Mass Effect. And, it was, again, a silly rumor legend thing where there's two sisters and when they'll pick their teeth with their bones. And I'm like, what is this? Demon? Is it a demon race? Like they're a synthetic type. I'm like,
see, that was my thought. I was like, you guys went from this this kind of in my notes I put it on there. I said, is this Revelation Tribulations on Romulan Ale? Because it kind of just suddenly went from there's just gonna be this massive race just gonna show up and just wipe everyone out, and then it's well, there's going to be these creatures and I forget the name he uses, but yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm going to call that a demon. He's like, the demon's coming up and they're going to break through hell and pretty much, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot I'm not playing Doom Eternal that I've been playing here, in quarantine.
Yeah, no,
because I started getting lost.
Yeah, no, it was one of those story things that you're like, this should have been done. If this was a story that should have been told, it should have been something told by the original 2 Romulans, which we never saw again. The caretaker Romulans, which obviously the story forgot about because we have not seen them again, which is too bad because I wish they had been in the show versus a lot of the other characters. Moving on, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about someone else for a certain point who maybe I would have felt something more if they would have witnessed something.
Yes. So... yes, we go to the scene where they're on the ship, and the ship comes in, and she's like, we're almost completed our mission, which we'll get into later, because I have a little clip for that. And she's, so Commander O/General, so now she's a general. So, again, I don't understand the structure of power, where it's like, so is this Tal Shiar fleet a Tal Shiar fleet? Is this a fleet of only the Vash Narada? Is this only a Vash Narada fleet? Is this a full Romulan fleet? Is this a Tal Shiar fleet? I don't know. I honestly don't. What is this like when you're a general? In my opinion, this puts her into normal. She's running when the Tal Shiar comes in and says, I'm running something. It's kind of like they're an in-place admiral general who's running the show across both let's say standard military fleets, not just. So again, I don't understand. Again, this is the world building part where so. Is this a Romulan fleet? Is this only a Tal Shiar? Is this only the Vash? Is this their hidden fleet of Vash Narada?
Yeah, who is this?
Who is it? Again, it makes not explained and all that kind of stuff.
Also, just on a Trek lore thing, I could be wrong, but I don't. Usually, the naming convention for Romulans was kind of like Centurion kind of things. I don't think they'd ever went general, but I don't know if we've ever seen high enough to know.
I don't know.
But
yeah,
I also found it just kind of seemed like a really simple, well, she's a general. I was like, you guys have had naming convention for Romulan, but maybe this is the Tal Shiar naming convention, because like you said, I don't know what organization you get 219 ships from.
True.
Also, those ships and some ships that show up later, and yet we couldn't take everyone off of Romulus and the combined fleets to that.
We have point. Way worse things now to talk about. We have way worse things. So you thought that was dumb. No wonder we know.
Audience members can't. You just wait until we do our series review of this whole season, because we are going to rip this sucker asunder.
Well, and now we know why they don't know why they couldn't get everyone off their planet. Because if you have 200 ships, you can't have one be doing something else or two doing something else, like killing your enemy, blowing up a small planetoid base with photon torpedoes or plasma torpedoes or phaser banks. Nope. When something attacks, you must have every ship doing the same thing, because there's no such thing as strategy in this show. So we go, and actually here's another example of strategy. So it turns out Narek, evil Romulan, had a backpack full of these explosives, which we see are probably a couple pounds of C4. It appears to be. They're not actually quite powerful enough from what we see in the shot later on. So they have all these, and they're like, well, how are we going to sneak it in? And they're like, in a soccer ball, because reasons. Not that these things are very small, that they couldn't literally hide them in their shoes, type thing. They're the size of a hockey puck. So they're all having their powwow discussing how they're going to get into the base. And we have this really terrible callback to the break-in log. It's a you used it in your notes, Christopher. It's
Ocean's 11. It's the Ocean's 11 talk through, heist.
It's the heist monologue / breakdown. Another one of these, because we all don't know the plan of we caught the guy who you wanted to catch, so let us into your base thing. I mean, it's almost it's like a it's so
it really
it's so overused.
It really needed some explaining there. I would have been lost.
Yeah, it's so
That's
overused.
That's the thing I wanted something more on.
It's so overused. They're like, we're gonna go in with him, and then we'll put this in a soccer ball, and no one will notice. And they're like, even though the other humans have been stopped, and so we get into this is where we start getting to again deeper problems, which is they have these funky
they try to
spears.
play it off the soccer ball, Joel or Fox. They try to play off the soccer ball because you have the one synth go, you play,
right?
Like, are you kidding me?
Well, and these synths are the dumbest creatures. Like, they're not even, they try to do this whole thing with their intelligence. Man. Are they even a character? Are they actually alive? Like, are these ones actually sentient? Because they're nothing more than a doorbell.
Yeah.
I mean, they have these horrible, like, rip-off from Stargate, like, colored glow sticks that literally look like they're from Stargate, just painted glowy colors with glowy plastic. And the way these interact with the characters, again, we don't get to, and you look at older shows, even older in TNG, even the guards sometimes were allowed to have a personality. I don't think they shoot these characters from a front shot. Like, in the sense of, like, these aren't characters, these are doors. Like, in the sense of, they are nothing more than a door that's hacked through in the sense of personality and what's given to them as characters.
Fox, do you mean to tell me that this whole show is about finding the humanity in synths, and the writers didn't actually make the characters playing the synths actual people?
I think I am.
They used them as props?
I think they did. What? Shocked. Just like this eyeball that after Dr. Agnes ripped this out of the thing and opened the lock to get to Picard. Because, they couldn't just have shown her getting into it. They had to show this dismembered eye because, we love
But they didn't want to
eyeballs.
show it getting pulled out this time. They just showed them the dangling little...
So she goes to Picard, he's sleeping, and she's like, oh my God, and they're having conversation, and blah, 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 blah. They get out. Now, it turns out that this project that we'll get into later that supposedly was 1,000 years off from being completed from when you first met Soji, turns out that it was 99.999999999% done, and it took her 15 minutes and using some uncoding software. And all of a sudden you're able to download your consciousness thing, which hits into Ghost of the Shell territory, which goes into things later in the story, which goes,
or Asgard cloning.
Is this your soul? Where's your soul go? Is the character later on dead or alive that gets downloaded into this? These are actually hitting larger questions with the show glosses over so hard that, I don't even have an analogy for it. I'm so flabbergasted on it, how fast it goes by. I can't even keep my eyes on the ball of how fast stuff that they gloss over things. It is like spit on slick ice or something of that nature. I don't know. Where's that book, Christopher? Where's the book?
Where's that proverb book?
Where's that book of things to say? So we have our completed, and they call it a golem, which is interesting. Again, I feel like it's a weird terminology. Whenever I hear golem, it's usually like at least in most mediums I've seen, it's a negative term. It's kind of it's a puppet, more a puppet than an actual thing.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a puppet, but I have seen it. I've kind of seen it used, I guess, in the way that they're trying to say it, but more often than not, like you said, at least it's usually something that's controlled by another, though. It's usually not its own.
And this is also another ripoff of Avatar, the Avatar movie, not the Airbender, but the Avatar movie itself, where you have the character who does golem it, essentially when his human body dies, be downloaded into the Avatar body. Mm-hmm. So again, another ripped off plot point later on. And so what they were doing with the girl when you die out was downloading the memories of it for like posterity. And oh my God, no way. He sees that it's actually evil android who kills her. Shock. Wow. I am actually surprised they actually show him, to be honest. It actually surprised me. They actually did allow him to see it.
You know what surprises me more is I was actually more surprised that his change of heart after this, and it's just like this Like that was actually more my surprise. I was like, oh, because like his last episode, you're kind of like, I don't know, you don't really seem like you're standing with humanity, and in this one, he's like, oh,
yeah. Well, we speculated
right,
he was actually we did speculate he was actually an android or a lore, but yeah, no, they didn't even go like the.
So like I was actually more surprised by that. Like I was more shocked by the fact I'm like, oh, you guys didn't go that way. Like
that's fair.
Just because I think we've called almost like 99% of the show of where they go for it. So I was like, oh, come on. And then I was like, oh wow. But then they do the exact opposite of like, but then you change your mind like, oh, well, I guess I need to make sure my synth children don't go and kill people.
Exactly. So our main crew here is underneath the antenna there, and they have the bomb. And then Doctor shows up and goes, hey, I'm on your side, because he realized what's going on is not good. So somehow, we're going to skip ahead because, again, this is how the show kind of skips around. Somehow, Picard and Dr. Agnes were able to get to the ship without running into, ever seeing
the walls.
The other people. They passed each other.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the walls.
Yeah.
The walls and doors. They were just walls and doors. They just ran past them.
They never saw them. No one went, hey, there's a plan here. There's no communication. Just whoop. Now they're at the ship.
Or, you know, hey, let me turn on the little webcam that's checking on Picard. He's not there.
Yep.
Everyone's not there, guys.
They're there at the ship now, magically there. Not even a big deal. And Picard, now I will say it's good Picard actually learned how to fly the ship. I appreciate that. You kind of made a comment about learning, and I thought that was actually okay. I didn't have a problem with that. I actually thought that was a good, you know, it's one of those ones where if you do create a problem that a character.
I don't mind the dialogue. I have a problem with the fact that a ship that's even older is then more difficult to learn how to use. I guess it's like
I mean it is a little nonsensical.
Like I said, that goes back to more the design of what they did, the user interface they did for this ship. Because you're like, man, like I get maybe you don't want the L cars, you know, do, but at the same time, it's like you made a far more intricate system that would seem harder to learn and master.
Well, and also goes in the point of, you know, in this show, the captain flies the ship, where in normal ships, we've seen the captain tells the navigator, where to go, and they do it type thing. That is obviously a different style. Now, granted, he's on a smaller ship with only his self on it, plus his hologram selves, which interesting they dropped out in the show in this one. Anyway, we have the group of synthetics, which we'll never see again after this scene, just so you know. They essentially fall off the face of the earth because they are not important to the story or the plot or any other element, because, you know, they are literally stand-ins. Again, these are prop characters. It's honestly embarrassing for the actors. I feel bad for them in this show because you are literally cardboard cutouts the way they wrote this stuff. So
like the girl who got painted in gold for Goldfinger and James Bond, like had more character.
Oh yeah, totally. So
I mean, it's like it like you said, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So Doctor has the evidence of Soon has the evidence, and instead of showing the group, hey, evil synth lied to us, and so we should really reevaluate, well, everything because we're stupid. We should really reevaluate what we're doing. He decides the best course of action is to, now I agree, deactivate her, but he goes over and he deactivates her with essentially a stun gun or a turn off switch, kill switch, whatever. We don't know if it kills her or just deactivates her. Who cares? Because again, it's dumb. And then all of a sudden,
you don't see her anymore. So
yeah. So then all of a sudden, the group starts doing one of the most cringeworthy scenes I've ever seen put together. So they start whistling to. Well, I will do a quick little shot of this video here. So they start talking to each other, and they're like, "Oh, whistle, whistle, come over." He hops over. They start having a fisticuff fight. Oh yeah, the ship's leaving too. By the way, so they could have taken the ship and blown up this tower because, you know, they were gonna blow up this group of people anyway. Like, again, we're talking again not the devaluate life, because I think it is important in this federational sense and just in general to value life. But again, we're talking and I consider that the android synth, that's fine. I have no problem considering them sentient life forms in the context of the show.
Right.
But these creatures, these entities, have decided to wage war on you, and they are willing to sacrifice all of the life in the universe to do this. So they are now
because they're childish and they don't know better, which is like the worst part. Like they're completely ignorant.
So instead of doing something intelligent here, they decide to just, you know, why try? Why use the ship to knock? I mean, they could just use the ship to bump into that, you know, tower. They don't even fire photon torpedoes up. Just ram it. just ram it and yeah, knock it over. And oh my gosh, things are fixed. They could crash onto it. Everyone's gonna run anyway. So yeah, again, why not use the ship to do that kind of stuff? Who knows? In the next frame here, we're gonna go into there's this the magical bombs inside of the soccer ball opens up. All of a sudden it flies towards Soji. I don't know why. I don't think she has force powers. And she catches it, and it all's in her hand. She's like, "Oh my god, it's blinking and beeping and blinking and beeping. Oh no!" And then she throws it in the air, and it blows up. And their plan is foiled because they only brought one.
It gets me. What gets even worse about that too is, when she holds it, the scene where she holds it, and it's like beep 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 beep, and then she throws it, and I'm like, wow, that really got a lot of beeps, and then she's still able to throw it like half a mile because she's a synth god.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious.
And then it blows up, and you're like, what? Like, I was sitting there going, you held that for the longer than the 3 recommended seconds before you should be chucking that hand grenade, girl.
Right.
Like, that should have blown up in your face. Instead, they're like, well, let's give it like 18 extra beeps, and then she could still throw it, and then it blows up 10 seconds later.
Right. So there's this quick little scene we'll play here, which is essentially when he disactivates her, but his comment's hilarious to me. Oh, where's audio? There we go. So he deactivates her, and then he's going to. And I love the line. Turns out you're no better than we are. And like, yeah, because you programmed them and taught them everything they know. And obviously they're like I said, they're dumb little children. In fact, the episode even points out that they're like children, which again is weird considering that they're supposed to be clones of data, which is, you would think that you could just download some level of intellect into these things once you've created a certain level of it. Like Data will download himself into B4. So you're telling me you can't download like basic cognitive skills. So here's that point where they start literally whistling to each other. I'm gonna turn off the audio. Well, they'll play the first part. So he's signal and then whistle. And because he has to jump over the thing, like Cobb Maga, and then starts fighting. Fighting. Oh my God, there's fighting and there's stuff happening. Oh, and cut. The ball. Stuff. And then, so he's like, all of a sudden he's like, I can't throw the bomb towards her. I don't even understand this. Like all of a sudden he doesn't want to kill them or something, but like he's willing to kill all of them but Soji. Like again, like there's a whole thing where he's like, oh my God, I don't want to kill it. He's like, move. So he gets hit, and you're like, oh my gosh, no, caught. And she's like, and he's like, don't do it, don't do the bad thing. The bad thing is bad. And he's like, oh no, I gotta do it. And then, like I said, this thing flies out.
I got it. Here we go. We can fly.
And then goes towards her, and
like, why does it go to her hand?
Like what? And like, did she force? Like, I don't even understand. Like, she doesn't have force power.
Like,
I guess she does.
Worst looking scene because it's like she literally puts her hand up like 2.5 like 2 frames before then you see it go.
Yeah, and so she's like sees it.
I mean, it's like it is so bad.
It doesn't. Well, no, it's. Oh, throw it! Boom! And you're like, oh, okay.
Like that should have blown up like already. Like I laughed.
So she goes back and she's like,
I'm gonna kill. Now she's extra pissed.
I'm extra pissed. I'm gonna kill you all because you're so mean to me. You're mean. You hurt my feelings and nonsensical stuff. So yeah, I'm not being sarcastic.
Proving the point why Picard should have just bumped the sucker.
Oh yeah, he could have just knocked it over.
BS that they have to play of some
knocked it over. And I get the point later on. Oh, they're trying. You could say like, oh, they're trying to stop the Romulan fleet. Well, what's more important in this? Stopping the end of the galaxy, or stopping the fleet from blowing up the group that wants to kill you?
Yeah.
Let's put priorities here, people. Priorities.
Exactly. Priorities. Which one's worse? The thing that's trying to build a beacon that's going to bring in a super god that's going to destroy all organics, or destroy that, then deal with the 219 Romulan ships that are going to show up, and you say, well, hey, I've already destroyed the beacon, so they can't make it. And then you can still kind of have the BS that happens after.
Oh, yeah. So what happens next? Let's see. Oh, yeah. They're in the space, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yes, that's right. During this time.
This is dumb.
So we thought the Borg, I thought the Borg were going to be, the cube was going to get involved in this battle because they were like, we're repairing the cube. So Evil Sister's on here still trying to do something with weapons or whatever. So Seven sees her, says, throw on your weapon. She throws a weapon down the hole, and then they start fighting. It's a boring fight, and then we'll get to the part where it reveals.
Well, and because was she trying to shoot something at the Serena, the La Serena, I think that was what she was trying to
No.
do. She was trying to lock.
Oh, maybe.
I thought that's what this. That's what she was. I think that's what she was. She was trying to lock on with some kind of.
Oh, it's stupid.
I don't know if like I don't know, but she was trying to lock on with something, and I guess that was what she was trying to do, which I kind of almost laughed to myself and said, you know what? They probably realized that if they shot like 2 torpedoes past that, it might kind of look like First Contact. If they have like some torpedoes fire through, and they're like, oh well, maybe that's not 25% different enough.
Yeah, right. So all of a sudden, all the Romulan ships show up at the exact same time. Now, we're gonna get into this again, where I don't understand. There's 3 examples of this. And the first one works. The rest do not. So, and we're going to keep repeating this, so it's kind of important. We'll maybe do an in dive in this later. So, in Avengers Endgame, if you haven't seen it, spoilers, everyone that has died from the snap is brought back. And so during the final climactic battle, Doctor Strange uses his magic to teleport everyone that we know of inside the heroes from all the different movies and all the franchises, all the heroes, transport them all magically to the battle. So the reason they're all getting there at the same time is because of magic, and they're all entering portals that instantaneously travel you into the same spot. So for some reason, all the Romulan warlords get there at the exact same time, which means they all left the location at the same time, which means they're grouped together at the same time. So you're telling me that all 200 ships were not. Again, this is space, right? Space is 3-dimensional. It's vast. It's huge. So all these warbirds were just chilling out right next to her, which is maybe fine. Maybe they were. They're all in a location, but they're all. But we're gonna get to worse ones here. This is a primer. So they all left in the same space, the same location, the same speed. And again, this is an important mission. So you're telling me there's not a single ship that's faster or slower than all these ones? Even inside the Federation fleet, there's a variation in speed. We have ships that travel at 9.976, and ones even travel faster than that. So they would essentially be there much faster than other ones. And in a crucial system here, where it's life or death, essentially the way the Romulans view it, you would think that there'd be a couple ships that show up early that have enough firepower to destroy a planet. And 218 ships is massively overkill. In
219.
219, they could decimate multiple planets.
Yeah, it might be 2. Yeah, it's 2. I don't remember.
Over 200. And they could decimate a planet easily. And so the fact that they all arrive within seconds of each other is, again, stupid. And it's nothing for the effect of it. And it's a stupid thing that makes no logistic sense. As was said, a couple photon torpedoes wipe out their base. And even if they had shields, a barragement of it, oh no, they have these plant things we'll see here. So they're attacked by the plants.
And not before you move on, what also gets me about that, like you said, it's all for like the shot. But the worst part about it is then it's not even a good shot, because like I guess you get to see the little green. But I want to see, if I got that, then I want to see a good big shot of maybe a few of the ships close in, as they kind of pass
flying
through. I mean? Like I want to get some.
This is a copy
I want to get
paste.
then a good grasp of it.
This is a copy paste shot. Again, this is to make something feel grand without actually putting the work into making the story feel grand. It's because you can copy paste the same effect a couple hundred times. I guarantee if you went through, you'd be like, oh, this is this ship here. This is this ship here. This is actually this ship. This is like the actual VFX are all the same ship. A couple of, there's 2 variations here, maybe even only 2 or 3. And that's why it just made it look feel big, because they keep duplicating it. So when we flip to the other side, and incoming are the flower ships. Now, granted, in a good sci-fi show, this is actually a pretty cool shot. Now, granted, I'll show later on it gets too noisy, like visually noisy. It turns into Transformers, where it's just a mess of stuff, because again, the scale hasn't really dealt with. These things end up being way too strong and just ripping through shields, because I guess ships don't have shields anymore. These planets just rip through the shields. In fact, they actually have these tentacles that seem to just destroy a couple ships without any problem at all, which is bizarre to me, because, ships and shields, and we see these things burning because phasers go right through them. So they have like no actual system to destroy or what. I just don't understand what they are. Granted, again, in a sci-fi space, they're like, oh yeah, they're controlled by nanomachines and blah 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 blah. I think, oh okay, that makes sense. But again, no thought was given other than, hey, let's have orchids be plants that attack the ships. Cool. So, oh yes, 7 in a cut in this, we have 7 killing evil sister. I was surprised she's never had sex with her brother, that we know of in the show, and so we never had her, thing. Though she has
I'm
a comment.
I'm also not sure she's dead.
Yeah, she could transport off again. the way this show ends, which we'll get into later, I feel like she's a waste character. It doesn't matter anymore. So I feel like she is dead because
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, but it was just like at that point then, because earlier before then they have the later scene with 2.3 repeating, is because like I was like, why wouldn't you just snap her neck? Like you have her in the throat choke and just like if you're gonna kill her and just instead they do the whole like, well, this is for Hugh and the kick, but like I said, it's because then they want to have that little comment that she makes later.
Yeah,
I don't want to just kill someone because it feels weird if they're here.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is I was glad this character was gone. I hope she's dead because it's just she's not even a good character.
She didn't. Most of them are worthless.
Yeah, it's a worthless character. She has nothing. She's nothing but a mustache twirling.
Hey, do you remember that Ralphie had a son?
No, we'll get to that. It's my notes actually, so we'll get into that.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes, because obviously everyone else forgot. In fact, we have lots of plot points that everyone forgot about. Did you know they forgot about Narek after this point too? Do you know they never show Narek again? Yeah, so
yes, actually, I do.
So after this point, they forget about most of the characters in the show because most of the characters are irrelevant. That whole side plot with Ralph.
It's either that or season 2, man. Oh. It's either that or season 2, which is like which.
No, please no, please.
I gotta see them do it.
Please no. Okay, so she's dead. Thank God. So here's that noise I was talking about. You have so much going on. It hurts the eyes. Just nonsensical. Again,
you just don't even know where you're supposed to be looking. Like, are you supposed to be enjoying the spectacle? Are you supposed to be looking for the La Sirena within all this noise and seeing what Picard's trying to do during it? It's just, ooh.
It's bad.
It's busy.
So they're on the ship doing, and so our magical device is back. And the cringiest shot, I have to say, I sent this to Christopher. I was like, spoilers. I have 2 spoilers. And one is one, and we'll talk about it later, but it's dumb. And then the other is this one. I'm like, here's a screenshot. In fact, I sent it to a couple of friends who watched the show and stuff like that. And I was like, are you ready for this? And they're like, what? And they saw it and they're like, that is the most horrifying things I've ever seen. Are you ready for this? So this thing is magic. Like I said, this is magic. It fixes ships, but it also can do anything you want it to because it creates clones of her face in the space of the ship because they're going to create holographic ships, hundreds of them, to trick the Romulans. So this thing is powerful enough to not only create holograms hundreds of miles apart from each other from the source of this thing, it creates false warp signatures and essentially has enough mass to actually stop a weapon from hitting it. This little device, palm in the hand, straight up magic wand. It is beyond nonsensical. And the cringe of this shot, like this shot is the cringiest thing.
So bad.
It's a high schooler cut and paste. The outlines of her.
The whole scene's horrible, especially when it starts off with their little like, man, if we survive this, we'll have a this because it goes into it exactly what they do, which makes it even worse. But like, man, if we survive this, we should call this maneuver after you, like the Picard maneuver. Wait, there already is a Picard maneuver. Remember with the Stargazer, with the Enterprise? Yeah, it's actually the Stargazer. Yeah, we all watched the TNG episode. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that you guys want to rip it off real fast so you guys go, we'll see, it's been done.
Well, and this is, like I said, again, they didn't even seem clever. They're like, they're doing a similar thing earlier. When,
well, it wasn't like, it was like the deflector was working with the holograms and they were going to like beam using the deflector to super beam some holograms or make something at least that's actually I've heard of in this. Instead, they're like, MacGuffin. Let's bring out the MacGuffin that
magical
does
device. Okay, it's a straight up magical device.
Wait, did they actually stop phaser shots though?
Yeah, because the ship.
Because I couldn't tell if they were going through.
You think they would notice, right?
Because the only one they hit, because the only time I saw them hit was when it's actually the real, ship. Which in general I have problems with this too, because the first phaser that goes through it, you would know then it's fake. Or if the phasers are going through, aren't they still going towards the planet? So I'd be still shooting at the planet anyway.
Right.
Or like you said, you got 219 ships. No one wants to shoot at the planet while everyone else is still taking care of the tiny little like shuttlecraft.
Yes. So this is horrific. So then we start the part where Picard starts trying to convince Soji that not be evil. Because I thought, I did think that she was actually going to be, after the connection she was building with Riker's daughter, everyone's been nothing but, on the human side, but nothing but nice to her, trying to save her, trying to be honest with her. They've not lied to her. They've done nothing but try to be beneficial to her. She actually did go full evil on them and was like, I'm going to wipe you out.
The first words out of her mouth.
So I'm going to kill
the first words out of her mouth in this episode were horrible.
So she's totally fine.
Like, well, you organics stole that from me. I'm like, man, you've like 2 days ago you thought you were human, and now you're so deep in the synth, synth activism here, and all organics must die. I'm like, wow, you changed pretty darn quick there.
Right. And again,
like you said, after having then character relation, some kind of development that you've had for your character, then it's like, oh wait, we need to have some kind of some obstacle here, so you're just gonna be evil. Yeah, whatever. What your character was going for, we need you to be this now.
Yeah, and again, it makes no sense to her experiences, what she's had with Picard, the crew, all these other people. It's just bizarre. So they're trying to convince it. So here's the clone ships of, the hologram for them with a Guffin device. Like I said, this little handheld device is creating all these ships, including warp signatures. So it's not only that, but it's also creating enough data out there that actually confuse the Romulans. So here now, say activate the beacon. Soji gets the beacon going, and it starts shooting and opening the portal here to the other, we'll call it other dimension, whatever, space and time. Could be somewhere. Again, we don't know if we learn nothing about this entity. By the way, the entity that is the Bringer Doom, we learn nothing about. In fact, the only shot we get is the one I'll show later, but it's pretty much the same shot from last episode in the trailer. They literally show the same shot from the trailer. That's it. Plus one extra 2 frames, couple seconds of it. And that's all I get. So all of a sudden, luckily, the Federation ships start flying in. Now, this is where, again, that whole thing of space and distance, again, becomes even bigger, where bigger is not always better. But the difference is now we have the Federation fleet on the left here, and they all show up at the exact same time. So you're telling me now, the Romulan ones I can at least go, okay, they were gathering a fleet together to go to this location. So they were all at that planet, right? They were all at the Borg cube, a bunch of these ships. So there we go. Okay, they were grouped at the Borg cube, and they flew off. However, the Federation has the exact same thing with all the ships show up within a half a second of each other, which means, wait, you're telling me there wasn't a single Federation ship that was a little closer, a little farther away from this place? No, they all went to Earth and then said, is everyone here? Is everyone here? Yep. We have all 200 ships here. Okay, we can finally go. Oh, wait, no. Bobby's not here yet. Hold on, guys. Okay. Wait. Okay, we can't go yet. No one can go yet. Where's Bobby? Call Bobby. Bobby. Bobby's here. Okay, we can go now. Okay, everyone, all right. Warp, go. And they all go this time.
Oh, here's where it gets even worse. It gets even worse, though, because we thought it was bad enough that the Romulan warbirds were copy and paste. But as you find out, these are all the same ship. Because he says it's his entire fleet of the same ship is what Captain Riker says.
I don't think that's what he
says. This is an entire fleet.
I don't know
of
if he
the
means
newest, best ships, and they all almost look. No, I think they're all the same.
They're not all the same. I know that. I think he meant his ship is the best one, which we don't really get to see it. And speaking of that, we'll get to that here.
Well, I don't know because when he says it, then you pull back and it's like 5 ships that are all exactly the same. Oh no, there's a bunch in the cluster. And they're the Enterprise E bastardizations.
So
ships.
Well, here we go. Part of the ship. So as you can see,
these all look the same, Joel.
They're very.
I'm sorry. These are.
I mean, this shot.
I think they're the same ship.
This ship's here is different. I feel like the one in the upper right.
It just looks different because you're seeing a different angle.
Maybe.
I think they're all the same exact ship.
Now, we're gonna get into the part here, important part. So, the one thing about
Star Trek,
is
important.
It is important. One thing about Star Trek is that Star Trek's had some of the most beautiful ships, including this one. This is the Enterprise E. It is a spectacular ship, and it is the Ferrari. And it's hard to get in focus here, but it is the Ferrari of starships. Now, granted, this is an older model. I have to finish it still. It's actually quite old. As you can see, the paints are yelling on it. But this is a beautiful ship, and it's soft. It has the structural angles. It is a beautiful ship. Not everyone loves it. I get it. I love it. But it's sleek. It has nice curves on it. It's beautiful. These ships are horrendous. These things right down here. These ships are like angular, and they're not even well designed. You can tell these were low poly. Again, behind the scenes, low poly, not very well done. Again, just copy and paste garbage. They all show up at the same time. It's boring and awful, and it's just cringy. So here's another shot. So it looks like they're
That's all the same ship.
No, these two look at the one right. I mean, they're similar, but see, look at this one has a red piece here. The two right there. So there's one right here on the bottom with the red, and the one behind it doesn't have red. See how it's tipper?
I think that's just because they're really crappy with their lighting.
Maybe.
I'm sorry. I think those are all the same ship. I mean,
I feel like there's a little differences.
Someone do some more in depth, but I think they're actually the same ship because they were just that freaking lazy and they couldn't design more than one ship.
Well, and you're telling me you couldn't bring in some of the older stuff, old Enterprise D. Come on, there's not a single Galaxy class ship still in the situation of need. All these scrap. come on. And these are, like I said, ugly.
Or a sovereign. I mean, I don't
Not
know. Or pick a stargazer.
Oh no, there should be a sovereign.
Pick even something like that.
100% should have been a sovereign in here because the sovereign class, which is this ship. So this is a sovereign. This is a sovereign class. When it was brought into first contact, which was I'm not sure exactly how far. It's funny how that sounds to change my mind. Which is Picard in the ship. He children. In the ship, the first contact, it was the flagship of the fleet. So you don't have a flagship design that is the pinnacle of your thing and be like, oh yeah, we have
first contact, or was it insurrection?
No, first contact. No, first contact before instruction.
Oh,
first contact, yeah. Okay. First contact was the first. That's
right, yeah. But but it's the newest ship in the fleet, and as we've seen, other ships have lasted 40 years. I mean, you still see reliance in the time frame. You still see reliance in Picard's time frame, and yet you're telling me now that you're not going to see a sovereign class
30 years later,
15 years later, 20 years later.
No
Come
way.
on.
Yeah, no way.
Come on.
Not even. So again, more ugly shots. Again, more ugly angle shots.
Look at it.
But yeah, it's
so gross.
I feel like there's more than one ship in here, but I will say it is a lot of copy and paste. That is for sure. Like I said, nothing pretty here. I'll try to do something later with something cool here, but anyway. So the only good part of this episode, I would say, is actually Riker. We both agree on this. Riker actually feels like the person he should be. So he says, what up, bitches? We're here to stop this because you're bad. We're good, and we know that you're a traitor.
It was pretty cool to see. It was cool to see Starfleet kind of come back and at least be somewhat of something kind of good after being dumped on this whole entire time. Even though I love how Picard's like at the end of this is so like, well, yeah, Starfleet, yeah, go Starfleet. I'm like, you've been bagging on him this whole time.
Well,
but yeah, Riker coming out there and going, Commander O or General or whoever you are, nothing would make my day to blast your traitorous ass out. And I'm like,
yes.
Okay. Follow through.
Yes, please. In fact, you need to get under custody because you have access to Starfleet secrets of every highest
your Starfleet
level.
Security officer, the highest security officer, and they're like,
and inside this, you've murdered tens of thousands of civilians. You are a war criminal. This character.
Oh yeah, she was the one that initiated the Mars attack. So yeah, it's like they don't even want to touch on that. Like this. They wanted to make this all diplomacy at the end and make this a wonderful ending, but what they've built up, this should have been a battle.
Oh, yeah.
This should have been a mass battle because there's some crap that's gone down between the Federation and the Romulans now that everyone's figuring out.
Oh, yeah. No,
and the fact that there isn't a moment of like, there needs to be some comeuppance here and some talking.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
Ridiculous.
So they talk, blah, 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 blah. Don't do the thing. Riker putting on the smackdown.
It's not my favorite bridge design as well.
It's a lot of flashy lines.
It's really
Romulan Shopkin just back and forth here again. I mean,
it's like you can't see anything worthwhile to even like. Why even give me the shot? Why don't you zoom in about like 2 miles closer and show me like 10 of the ships on either side and give a really good look at them instead of looking at an anthill.
And it's the problem
they all look
with
like ants from down here,
right? It's also the problem with modern sci-fi, which is bigger is better. And you're like, no, smarter is better. And we have nothing smart here. Sometimes bigger and better. Like you look at Lord of the Rings, the final battle there. That felt epic. And this is not an epic. Like I said, there's nothing here feels epic. This feels, again, you kind of know the outcome already. So all of a sudden, Picard has his brain start hurting because, they've had to flag that since they didn't talk about the first reason. And oh no, he gets the thing that's going to kill him because it stabilizes him for 15 minutes.
And now we actually use a real hypo spray.
Yeah.
By the way, there's the actual hypo sprays that we're used to. Funny enough.
Yeah. So then we go to here where Picard's making his, pleas to Soji, and we get the different shots of everyone watching on the open channel. The alien creature is coming through, and oh no, Soji changes her mind and starts to close, and so the tentacles from Doc Ock, as Christopher called it, from the Doc Ock tentacles get pushed back into the thing. Now, granted, what we've been told is that they are, if you call us, we will come, and these are a timeless and spatially relevant entity that is essentially, like I said, almost a god tier. It reminds me again of the episode of there's an episode in the original series, not original series, TNG, where they go to this planet, and essentially the planet is the most free love planet in the galaxy, because essentially they're like, you want to have some sex because we're horny down here and we'll give it away for free. And so the crew's down there hanging out and everyone's happy. And, little Will steps in the grass where you're not supposed to step. And they're like, oh no, you stepped in the grass you're not supposed to step. And he's like, oh darn, I'm really sorry. They're like, well, you're in trouble now. And like, oh, so what's he get? Fine, a penalty, a fee? They're like, oh, no. Every crime you commit on this planet, you die. And he's like, wait, what? And the crew's like, wait, what? You die for stepping on the grass? Like, yeah, that's how we keep crime. There's no crime here because if you do any crime, you die. And so they're like, oh, so you mean this free love planet is actually if you step in the wrong place at the wrong time, you die? And they're like, yeah. So the reason is because a essentially fifth dimensional being is their god of this planet. And Picard has to essentially bequeath a message to it. I don't know if that's the right word, but has to essentially humbly request and I don't want to say beg. He tries to logic and reason to this entity, go, hey, is this what you want to teach essentially your children? Because it kind of views as the guardian of this planet, this alien race that's kind of a fifth dimensional alien race. So I feel like this, they're said again, it's like kind of a god tier alien race that's overseeing this planet. And I feel like whenever you do, we look at what aliens like the Caretaker, how powerful they were. And so I feel like when you put an alien race as powerful as whatever this is supposed to be, and you tell that we called you, I have to feel that unless they are unable to, again, they weren't revealed. This is all we know about this race. If they're saying, oh, by doing this, you open our prison, something akin to, Final Space, the TV show. Oh, another show ripped off. I didn't add that in my notes. Final Space ripoff. Ripping off Final Space. If you haven't seen the show, it's actually quite good. Season 1's awesome. Season 2 is decent. Not as quite as good as Season 1, but Season 1's freaking awesome. And it's an animated show. So they're trying to, an alien race is imprisoned behind a barrier and they can't get out without someone opening it for them. Like this. So we don't know if this alien race is actually trapped or has the power. No one knows, and no one asks because...
Yeah, well, like you said, it seemed like the way that they had mentioned it, like you said, they had made it sound like that beacon, once it was sent, was pretty much unlocking the door.
Or no, it wasn't a door. I thought it was just it was more of a, hey, we're here. Very much the warp 10 or the warp signature. Hey, once they see the message, they're on their way, and there's no stopping them.
I guess that's true. Yeah, like because you're right. Because it went from being they've been calling it a beacon, and then yet it's more of like
a portal,
an array to create a portal, like you're saying. Yeah, a red Stargate.
So this is where the pain. I mean, there's so much pain in this episode. This is where the pain takes a new level in this episode. So, Soji. Picard essentially pleads to Soji and goes, I will die for you and prove that humans are worth saving. And essentially,
Savior complex throughout this whole show. It's ridiculous.
It's a painful dialogue scene. It's so bad. I don't even understand what she's convincing. Because, sometimes a lot of times there's characters who really understand what they're trying to convince.
But she wants to kill organics. Why would she give a crap if he's saying, I'm going to kill myself?
So, essentially... You have the Romulans on one side, the Federation on the other, Picard trying to negotiate to the third party on the planet that is essentially summoning an entity to destroy everybody. And Picard gets her to shut the portal. And the Romulans go, cool, we're convinced. Awesome, we're convinced. Now, granted, I'm going to show a part here, which is important. This is what Commander O said just prior to this. This is O. So Commander O is literally saying before this, our great work is nearly to an end. Now, I don't know Romulans personally, but if I was in essentially a death cult that has been around for hundreds of years and been trained, and we know they have the vision of the end of the world, the fact that Soji, which was this close to wiping them out, all of a sudden saying, still knowing the knowledge they know, to essentially bring this beacon back. It's not like this knowledge is a one-time use thing.
Mm-hmm.
That they're like, oh, we are thoroughly convinced that you will never do this again and that this portal will never be opened and everything is lollygaggy shadows and rainbows, or, sunshine and rainbows.
Rainbows
everything is
and
great.
unicorns, yeah.
Rainbows and unicorns, everything's great. So the Romulans say, cool, we're convinced. Everything's going to be fine now. Peace out. And they go, okay. And so, let me go next frame here. They just warp out after saying, essentially, Riker being like, I'm going to join you on this way out and track you out. Granted, Romulans have cloaking devices and et cetera, other technology that, if they were smart, again, this is the thing too, during this whole time, it's not like they couldn't have destroyed that base. Again, they had a mission. One ship could have taken that base out. It wasn't very big. They could leave one ship there, cloak it out, and be like, boom, gone. So they warp out, and instantaneously, every single, we'll get to the next frame here. Come on. Oh yeah, Riker's like, get out of here. Again, Riker was the best part of the show. Every single Federation ship follows them away. Now, granted, the way it was worded, I'm not sure if they're following, but they should be. Now, granted, the same thing here. Not one Federation ship stays. Not one stays. Riker doesn't stay. Picard's dying now, and he says, hey, Picard, he doesn't stay to see his friend. He's on a special commission, most powerful ship of the fleet, dealing with the situation. First contact situation. Do they leave a single Federation ship there? No. Not that we see. Not addressed. Not a Federation ship. So, because Picard could be like, hey, I need your help. Or, I want to say goodbye to one of my best friends I just saw. Hundreds of things that could be happening here. Oh, Romulans could turn one ship around and cloak it and hightail it back and wipe out that base still. Just a landslide of reasons.
Which, would be the most Romulan thing ever.
Right. It's not like that.
Just in general.
You're telling me this Tal Shiar group, which is literally a cloak and dagger, high-level cloak and dagger, cult level.
Wouldn't cloak and dagger right when it's needed?
Idealistic group be like, cool, you convinced me. In 2 seconds, you convinced them of something that's been thousands of years they've been doing. So,
yeah, all the
ships are gone. Again, they don't take Agnes because Agnes, who is the murderer, is never dealt with in the show. It doesn't matter anymore. So Picard passes out, and then he dies. And then we cut to the next scene. Yes, Picard dies. Wah. Oh, that's right. There's 20 minutes of the show left. So, yep. Yeah. This pretty sunset shot, which is pretty. We have Seven and Rio's chat about garbage. We have the cringiest cry scene I've ever seen in my life with Elrond Jr. has oh my God, the worst crying I've ever seen in a show. Just this pose here shows you how bad it is. I don't have a problem with characters crying or having a moment of sadness. I think sometimes it's overdone, but to have someone, it's embarrassing, the breakdown here. Well, it's not even.
There's the bigger problem that I have with this is what I was mentioning earlier in the video. One of my big points. Picard's death being mourned by the characters that we see on screen has no emotional weight to me as a viewer, because none of those characters have created a relationship of a caliber with Picard that then them crying over his death means anything to me. Right. If it was 7 of 9 seeing Captain Janeway die, I could understand that. If it was Riker getting to be there and mourning the passing of his captain and best friend, Captain Jean-Luc Picard, that would have brought a tear to my eye. That would have had a connection. I think you made a good point. Even if I would have been able to see his two caretakers, I probably would have had a more emotional connection of going, I feel for you guys losing a friend because I feel like you guys have been friends. These guys, I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't, it's so nice. It just didn't, like I said, like I was sitting there trying to go like, I like Picard. Obviously I've always enjoyed Captain Picard's character, and when they have to pass, they're going to pass if they're going to pass.
No, I'm sorry.
Foreshadowing. Yeah. But it's like, just, there was nothing to care. I didn't care for his death because it was like,
well, you also knew it was. You knew it
wasn't. They pulled a Star Wars.
Yeah,
it was a Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the same way of like Han dying and seeing Rey deal with it, and not getting to see Luke.
It's more like Chewie. It's more like Chewie dying because they undo it again. It's or C-3PO.
Yeah,
they C-3PO'd it. All these characters are having their these cry moments. They're all dealing with this crying and this butterfly. So we get to this scene. Now, a lot of people are having wet dreams about this scene because the dream scene. Ha 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 ha.
It's a very complex
And we're going to break the scene down later.
Reality.
This is the general scene here. We're going to just talk about it. Now, granted, I will say the positive. I actually like how this scene was shot. I actually say this was one of the better shot scenes. I think that with all the cutting and all the issues, I feel this scene was actually very well planned out. Very well shot. I like how the gray contrast
It's gray
to
and gold. Actually, I didn't even realize that really till seeing it now. You know, he's wearing his kind of yellow and the gray, and then actually it's kind of the gold yellow from the fireplace, but then the gray everywhere else.
I really like the two colors. Yeah, the fireplace lighting the scene mostly. Overall, I really like this look at the visual from the scene. I think Data is pretty solid. Again, it goes from being a very good scene to a somewhat nonsensical scene. So it essentially seems that what's happening during this scene is they are downloading essentially or copying Picard's consciousness or synaptic patterns in his brain into the golem. And so since Data is somehow being still alive in essentially if I was to put it into human terms, almost in a coma state. And again, we'll get into this deeper, is because he's like, please let me die. Essentially what happens here is he's like, please let me die. And granted, all this is brought from essentially one single synapse that was saved from the debris of his dead brain, which again, somehow he's reconstituted mostly into the same character. We'll break into that later, but again, I don't have many feels from this scene. I know people had a lot of feels. I know you, Christopher, said you had some more feels from the scene. I didn't have any feels in this scene. This scene gave me nothing to be personally. Well, and it's okay if it gave someone you totally okay if it did.
Well, here's why.
I felt nothing.
Well, here's where I'll say like at least a basic overview of why I felt so. It was. I will say it was at least. It might not have been a return to form of Star Trek kind of stuff, but it was a return to form of the Picard Data relationship and kind of what you get to see in First Contact, kind of what you get to see in Generations, and a few of those moments where it was kind of that moment of always that little banter of kind of trying to understand humanity for Data. So there was that sense of me that I was like, I actually really do like that. And there's a part of me that, it was a mixed feeling because I did have some mixed and I was like, okay, I kind of see it. Like I said, it really kills me knowing that this was all like when they ruin it by going like, oh, well, you're still alive. You're just going to be transferred into a new thing.
Well, and the dialogue it sinks. It's the scene starts out pretty high and it kind of, they start saying things that don't make sense in the end.
And I wish they would have kept a little bit together because I don't mind the sense of, I don't find it odd at all to me that Data in that sense wanting to be as human as possible, saying I don't want to sit here in a coma in a pretty much in a digital coma. I've always wanted to be human and I sacrifice myself. Let me finish that path for you. Let me finish that completely because I didn't get to. So there's a true sense to me that's like I get that and it's actually an extremely Data thing to do, and I think it's a interesting kind of completion of what happens to him in Nemesis. So I do have that feeling, but I think it then gets immediately taken away from me when, again, what you say, we find out that Picard is being transferred into a golem, and that golem then is made mortal, so it can die.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
And to me, I sat there and I went, okay, wait a minute. So you just then are going to kill Data, but at this point, I know he said he wanted it, but wouldn't it have been the really super cool Star Trek thing to do for Picard to come back and say, I brought you back. Well, Captain, I wanted to die. When you put me back, you're an immortal body.
Right.
And then you get to be like, be a human with me, or, get to be this with like, let's have another friendship again. Let's have a new life together for a few bit, but we're both going to die. You're still going to get your human experience of death.
Yeah. No,
but I'm getting to bring you back. I get to save you one more time, and I would have been like, "Oh, that would have brought something to me."
Yeah, I agree with that. It wouldn't
save this series at all, but I would have been like, "Oh,
I agree," because cool. It could have given opportunities. It could have given opportunities to do stuff interesting in the future. Well, technically, here's the thing: they could do that since literally to bring him back.
I mean, you unplugged a chip
to bring Data back. You just plug the USBs back in. I mean, literally.
I know it's not like I know they unplugged it, but it's not like they went.
And they're obsessed with the butterfly for some reason. So, next frame here.
Well,
So-
Joel, because what you don't realize, Joel, is in season 2, someone's gonna find those crystals, and then they're gonna, and then that's gonna be what's gonna something or rather than actually bring the big, Doc Ock Matrix
Right.
thing to come down.
Truth. So Picard wakes up in his new body. Essentially, he is again another plot point where it doesn't change the outcome of the story. Literally, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna really highlight Picard's brain aneurysm." Essentially what it is, a brain issue, and then we're gonna make a big deal of it. We're going to kill him and then put him into a new body, and everything's good. There was no actual hurdle to overcome. It was just
No
magically
consequences.
it was just to do that. So they all after that have a nice little powwow around the thing talking about blah blah blah. Now, I thought this shot was hilarious. I felt it was like evil Data. Like literally it made me think of like Don. It was the Don shot.
Corleone.
Don, yeah, the mafia boss.
Don
Data.
Corleone,
I love that.
I made Picard a logical request he couldn't refuse.
Literally, that was well done. So they do this whole, this shot here is like a vision of himself. Now, I hate this macabre shot. Ugh.
Yes.
This whole
Yes.
aging
Yes.
him macabre. Oh, it's so horrendous. This is dumb and ugly. Now I do like this whole like dissolving thing of like the consciousness.
Dissolving of the reality.
That's a better shot.
Yeah, it was cool.
I think that was cool. So yeah, I guess I didn't screenshot.
And then they just really crap on this.
Yeah,
I mean,
then
it's
they
like that's the worst part.
then
Like
it's
I was
wrap
already
up
going
the wrap up.
Like I was
the
like,
wrap up.
okay,
So we wrap this whole thing up, right? So we have this giant story. We have tens of thousands have died. Mars is burning. There's giant conspiracies inside of Federation. There's people inside the Federation which are essentially murdered citizens, caused chaos, completely changed the way the Federation operates, lied to trillions of beings inside the Federation, caused chaos and wars, and changed the structure of it. Nobody is in trouble. Like I said, Commander O gets away with it. We're gonna go to we'll go next shot here. There's no repercussions. Agnes is making out with the captain. It's all good. No one's like, you know what? You murdered somebody. We need to at least put you on trial and go. Well, maybe the Federation's pretty kind. When it comes to it, and be like, well, yeah, this Commander O mind raped you. So we're going to be like, yeah, you probably weren't totally conscious of what happened to you. You're jacked up. So at least some level of like, hey, you're in mandatory therapy for next 20 years, next 10 years. We're going to send you, we need to at least investigate your brain. Let's just make sure that there's no other, sinister programming inside of you. We don't know what kind of programming you had done to you, like Geordi. There's layers of stuff. There's no consequences. Again, thousands dead, blah, 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 blah. They're like magically like the Federation instantaneously, since they're no longer banned.
Can I just say, because I feel really bad, because I think the first episode we talked about predictions of the show or things that we liked, and I remember putting consequences on there, and I am so sorry, because I removed it the second episode after we're going,
we'll go back to the predictions.
And by the end of this, I've gone there going, this show has no consequences.
Oh, no consequences.
About anything.
No.
Anything.
No consequences. Nothing matters here. So we have this. So Girardi is happy and smiling and lovely. Everything is rainbows and unicorns now for her. Doesn't matter because everything's great. 7.
Because Joel, this was all about family and love. And love. See, all kinds of love.
All kinds of love. And if they choose to do this organically, but here's the thing.
Are they playing the Vulcan game?
Yes.
With the sticks?
Yes.
God, I hate this show. These people suck.
So Raffi is one of the worst people in the Federation. She is the worst. And the idea that 7 of 9 would be attracted to her is ridiculous. In fact, the last thing she should be worried about is relationship. She should be dealing, as you brought up earlier, Shepard, her son and her granddaughter or grandson that she has no relationship with, and it's estranged. Does she care about that? Nope. She cares about instantly creating a relationship with 7, which makes no sense, the context story, because I don't think they've shared more than 30 seconds of screen time. And now all of a sudden, they're all holding hands so cutely.
Apparently now Raffi wants some XB cube.
And speaking of, I thought she just confessed her love to Picard the last episode, and now she's like, well, no, Picard died. So
hey man, she just loves everybody. She's a hippie. She's a space hippie.
Totally. I was gonna make the joke that I was like, oh, maybe she can't date Synths or and I was like, wait, well, she can date an ex-Borg, so it's okay. But such a dumb, again, such pandering. The bigger thing to me on this is it's bad. It doesn't make sense to the story, and it's just straightly given to pander. They're like, we need an LGBT, throw it in there, and here you go. So now we have our ragtag
to beautifully, bravely, and boldly go where every SJW has gone before.
So we have our
beautiful and brave, though. Beautiful and brave.
Our cringe crew. We'll call it the cringe crew of the ship here, and they're all hanging out. We have Picard. We have Soji. So we have the perfect girl on the left there, who somehow is now joining them for some reason, because, we don't know why. Because the Federation doesn't want to investigate her at all and stuff that she was dealing with the Romulans or ask questions or investigation here or whatnot. No. Seven joined the fleet, and even though she's part of a rogue group that has murdered people and done a lot of things, no one has questions for her or anything. Picard, who is now a synth, and possibly, again, is he actually the same person? Did this thing work? Is it going to have degrading? They made him. They said this body will age at your normal rate. So he's right like 96. They said, so you're going to age another 10 years. Obviously, it was designed to allow, if Patrick Stewart's older, best wishes to him. He's older. They wanted to allow that to him to play it. Totally get it. Again, they could have done something better, explained it better. A lot of things. It's silly. Our Captain Rios,
a simple way of trying to get past.
Captain Rios, I think, is our highlight character here. Raffi, the worst person in the Federation. We have Elrond Jr., who is the dumbest person in the Federation, and Dr. Agnes Jurati, the murderer. The murderer. Doctor, and again, no repercussions for her. And they're off to their next adventure in
Joel, they're all ambassadors now to this new planet, so they'll have diplomatic immunity.
Probably. There we go. Diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, because the synth said, if you take any one of these away and try to hurt them or punish them, then we'll rebuild that array. And the Federation went, okay, I guess you're right. Let's back up. Let's
because we can build it now. We just turn it on. All we have to do is push a button, turn back on.
And my favorite part, that in one sentence they mention how they removed the ban.
Yes, the synth ban, because
they're like, oh yeah, the synth ban's gone now, so we can. So Soji's like, so now I can leave, and Picard's like, so can I, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you people suck.
And we'll get digging later too, deeper parts of this stuff where it's like,
why even have half of this show and the thing in the plot lines?
Well, also the synth thing.
I mean, seriously,
the synth thing calls into a really tricky point, because synths aren't born or the difference of organic in it's just putting sci-fi life, the sci-fi space of Star Trek. The difference of organic life and synthetic is that organic is born through copulation to being, or in some cases, singular, right? There's certain organisms on life,
right,
that one can create another, but essentially one spawns more than one.
It's through procreation of some kind. It's not
generally. So
yeah.
Even flowers, right? So there's generally this part of life begets life. The difference with synthetic android and stuff like that is actually it is a creator, right? So it's kind of what most people in the Christian space would consider life. God created the first life type thing. So in this space, it would be, there's life, and then there's android life, which is created by the human god, let's say, the flawed human god, and
right.
the creator of android life. And so what's weird is this show doesn't seem to delineate that, because you say things like, they're not banned anymore, and you're like, so you're allowed to build them, which means not all are, like, again, what level of synthetic life are we talking? Are we talking the sentient? Or are we talking just the dumb, like the cog in the wheel type stuff? So again,
if they were
sense.
using Data's,
and only these ones were,
sense,
Yeah.
Only these ones. Or that's right. That's what I'm saying. So since they removed him, they won't be able to make any more of that level, right?
Well, I mean, theoretically, soon,
or are they able to still make the
could.
Golem, and it's just going to be a more simple-minded creature?
Well, granted, the golem thing is a different thing because you start following again. That was the end of the episode. So off they go into the next adventure. So end of the episode. So many problems with it. But yeah, the golem thing is obviously a big thing because you're going, okay.
Wait. No, you got to give it because they have to give their stupid moment of everyone looking over at Picard after one of them already says engage or something like that. And
yeah. Well, here's the thing too.
Like, let me give you fan service right here at the end because we know we effed up.
They do make a comment when they're telling Picard about his new body, which is, he's not. We gave you a normal human body. We didn't give you superpowers. So essentially, they acknowledge that there's some of these ones that are super. So the question is, if you can just download your consciousness into there's no repercussions. Again, we're negating the part of a soul, or if that actually kills you, and just a copy of your soul, that kind of stuff. The element is people are going to start doing that, which is, again, a lot of times in sci-fi is the flaw, right? So it goes to the shell, kind of stuff. When do you start replacing the pieces until you lose what you are? Is Picard dead? Like, is his soul? Does he have? In sci-fi, it's always the thing.
Does he still have a soul? Yeah.
Is there a soul? That's kind of the even in even Star Trek kind of addresses that in the one episode where Harry Kim gets transported to the pod into another dimension or another place, and they're like, oh yeah, every time one their race gets transported here, they let go of an energy that kind of seems like a soul around that star, and so. Even inside of sci-fi, it's like souls are this gray area because like, is there a little more to death? Is there more to life inside of this? Is there more being sentient? Does it have more value than just with the atoms and DNA?
Is there more than just brain patterns and DNA that makes sentience and humanity, and they didn't want to even touch it in this because, like you said, it's not like they were trading consciousness in that sense or going further. They were just saying like, well, we pretty much just we scanned your brain, we saw what your brain does and what neural patterns it had, and then we just copy and paste you over into a different thing. And you're like, oh, okay. So I mean, because in general, I always had that question for cloning. If ever scary, but if we human cloning, I mean, that's always been exactly the thought. Mm-hmm. Well, does the spirit transfer?
Yeah,
or is that an separate energy?
Right. So no, exactly. So that you start falling to this place of what becomes life. Again, it's kind of like the Khan blood issue with Star Trek, where Khan blood heals death. So now we have Khan blood that can heal Khan from Into Darkness, that heals death, and now we have essentially android bodies that they can either put you into a standard human aging body or upgrade you into a essentially superhero body as well. Again, the show doesn't address any of that or even think about it because it doesn't matter.
But if you want to find out, go ahead and watch Discovery, Star Trek Discovery, probably season 3.
No, thank you.
Where the entire Federation is taken over by synthetic versions of all themselves.
Probably.
I'm just calling it. I'm just calling it out right now. That's the crap they're going for. I mean, this is ridiculous.
So, let me see if I have last notes. I have so many notes, but I'm saying there's thing.
I think we picked this apart pretty well.
No repercussions. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, that's all I have really on this part. I mean, again, this episode, the show itself, we'll dive into the whole show itself. The wrap up in this episode is one of the worst wrap up episodes I've ever seen because everything the whole series has been building up to means nothing. Which is
nothing.
I was hoping I was hoping they would at least get into kind of the elements of it. And again, it's so nonsensical because there's not even a part where they're like, oh, cool, we need to deal with this. They don't deal with it. They just go, cool, that was barely inconvenient. And everyone's happy now. Yeah. And everything's back to normal. And you're like, what? All this?
It's like,
I mean, the repercussions of this should be staggering.
Immense.
Because you essentially had the Federation taken over by and from what we can tell, 2 people, Commander O and the Lieutenant that was the evil Romulan sister.
Yeah, Rizzo.
Rizzo were the only two in the Federation that somehow took over the Federation, and it just boggles my mind. It goes into the logistics element. This is probably, and like I said, this episode has so much stuff. I'm sure I'm missing other broken parts of this, but hopefully this gives you an idea of how bad it is. And we'll have all three of us, all three brothers will be doing a season breakdown coming up here probably in the next couple days, sometime mid next week, talking about it. And if you have other shows you want us to review, because now Picard's over, given what the production holds right now on most things, and probably lives will last for another couple months, most likely, due to quarantines and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think we'll be probably 2 years before the show comes back. I'm guessing. Maybe longer. It might never come back, to be honest, because I don't know what the ratings are. I have to imagine they're not very good. And with the finale this pathetic...
Well, didn't they greenlight season 2?
They can always undo it.
Or was that just kind of...
They can always undo it.
That was just more marketing kind of a...
I mean, they might.
Hey,
I mean,
we're already getting there for
milking,
season 2.
They're milking this stuff, right? I mean, they're milking it. I mean, even Netflix...
Well, I mean, they're going Discovery season 3.
Yeah, and I don't...
So they clearly thinking they're trying to make something of
They're
this,
milking
of
it.
These franchises.
Again, it is so painful. So, like I said, what's next? I don't know what's next. We're gonna find some more sci-fi shows to talk about, some more stuff to talk about. I'm gonna pull on some more anime reviews coming up here. Maybe we'll get I'll pull up some sci-fi anime shows that are worth watching, because there's not much sci-fi out there these days. There's not a lot of stuff out there. Go ahead.
We need to go through Stargate and Stargate.
Yes, we'll do some Stargate Atlantis
at some point.
Some of the best stuff in there.
That would be something, audience, that you're going to actually get some happy faces from us.
Yes.
It's not Stargate Universe.
No, we don't. So, well, everyone, thank you.
Oh, that was a note. That was a note I was going to say in there. No, that actually brought it up, because that was one thing I want to know. Is that this show, actually, the characters in this show really fall into the same problem that I had with Stargate Universe, which is none of them are on any kind of... There's no character that you want to look up to in the show, or have any like even though they might, like, everyone always has a flaw. They might have a flaw, but you still go, I want to look like, you're kind of like, but I like who you are. I want to look up to this. It's the same way that it was for Stargate Universe, where I'm like, oh my God, you made every single one of these people the edgy, horrible versions of themselves that are just so human, because they're so disgusting. And it's like, I don't go to shows to watch, like, humans at their worst being portrayed in a show. I want to see a portion, portions of uplifting, pushing things up. And this show, like I said, there was never a character in this show that I'm like, like the simple thing, like, make it as a joke, but it's like, there's no other character here that I want to cosplay as. There's not a character in here that I'd want to put on their uniform and dress as for Halloween.
No, there's no.
But I'll go and put on my Vulcan ears and pretend to be Spock every day. I'll go and find the ridges and be Worf.
Totally.
It's like, I enjoy doing that, but it's like, for this show, there's nothing here I want to copy. There's nothing here I want to emulate of anything about it.
Nothing inspiring. So, all right, everyone. Thank you for putting up with us for the last, hour and a half or so. Thank you. And engage. Wait. I don't know. Have a good one, Des. Please like and subscribe to our channel and enjoy. I'm sorry, we're just, like I said, pulling this up again shows how, again, I know this is like Asher probably, but just I pull a model out of the stock. I need to finish this one, and I have the old, Bird of Prey I showed last episode. But just seeing this one, I was like, oh man, this show, like I said, the stuff that this show had back in the day, it was inspiring. And now we have the stuff that is cringeworthy, where you have this stuff and you're just like,
cookie cutter. It's cookie cutter. It's cookie cutter Star Trek.
So bad.
I mean, at its worst.
Thank everyone.
Using poop dough.
Right. But anyway, till next time, have a good day.